Australian rural confidence has slumped in the September quarter, with farmers worried about lower commodity prices and the warmer weather bringing drought back to our shores. According to the Rabobank survey, confidence has dropped to the fourth lowest level in 2 decades. Joining me now is Rabobank Senior Strategist, Global Economics and Markets, Mr Picton. Ben, thanks so much for your time.
Pleasure.
What's really got farmers feeling so nervous at the moment?
Yeah, so it's a combination of things, and it depends which state you're actually looking at. A lot of farmers on the East Coast are very nervous about the weather, conscious that we maybe have an El Nino system coming at us towards the end of the year, and that will mean drier weather, drier growing conditions around harvest time. So they're concerned about that. Over on the West Coast, we see that farmers are a bit more worried about government intervention and particularly things like the end of the sheep live export trade.
Yeah, is there any specific state or territory that's doing the best?
Yeah, Victoria is a bit of a bright spot at the moment. So they've had pretty good growing conditions in Victoria, reasonably strong conditions for the dairy sector down there, and a bit of rain around as well. So Victoria is probably the standout. They're, the best of a bad bunch at the moment.
You've got a chart in your report which sort of shows confidence over the last 20 odd years, and it looks like we've had some pretty good years really recently, haven't we? With all the rain, had some bumper crops, but now it seems like that's coming to an end.
We have. So we've been very fortunate. We've really had 3 bumper seasons in a row. And I think it's important to note, though, that it is patchy. So some farmers missed out in the good times. So not necessarily everyone has benefited from that. Having said that, because of the conditions around the world, the war in Ukraine, we had very high commodity prices. We produced bumper crops here in Australia in most growing regions, and farmers really benefited from that in the aggregate.
Yeah, so over the past few years, is it fair to say farmers might have built up some profits and have got those sort of savings banked up? They're now kind of ready to deploy that capital if times do start to get tough?
Yeah, we hope so. We definitely saw that farmers did pay off a bit of debt during that period, so they were making good money, most of them, not all of them. And we did see that they used that to pay down a little bit of debt. Since then, we have seen farmers have been fairly active in looking to, buy out the neighbour or acquire another farm somewhere else. So there has been a bit of capital investment going on. That's starting to dry up now. We're not seeing as much activity anymore, and that's probably because confidence is down and cost of borrowing is up.
Yeah, looking at some of the commodities, it looks like cotton's a bit of a bright spot. What's causing that?
Yeah, so it's a combination of things. So the first one is that prices for cotton has been quite good, and a lot of growers have got water allocation for this season and next season as well. So that's good news for the cotton growers. Another thing that's potentially affecting cotton is that you've got slightly different timing on when the crop goes in and when it's harvested. So we're seeing that most of the cotton crop, or all of the cotton crop's already been harvested and is sort of making its way to the gins and making its way to offshore markets. So they're not worried so much about this potential drought that's coming towards the end of the year, whereas the guys in the grains sector, dairy sector, they're much more concerned about that.
Yeah, well, how are sheep producers feeling right now?
Yeah, very downcast, I would say, sheep producers. We're seeing some of the lowest prices in more than 5 years. There's a lot of volume around. The guys on the West Coast are concerned about what's happening with live export. There's a lot of uncertainty around the durability of their business model. Tough times for sheep and beef. Yeah,
we've seen Indonesia and Malaysia lifting their live export bans pretty recently. That must be a positive for the beef producers in the country and other live exporters.
Yeah, absolutely. So you're referring to the lumpy skin disease issues that we were experiencing for a period of time. We've never thought that there actually was any lumpy skin disease in Australia, and that was the position of the government as well. But we did see that those countries were blocking exports from Australia for beef. Good news that we're now able to send beef back into those markets, and hopefully the pricing improves.
Yeah, how are beef prices?
Pretty low. So we're seeing that most proteins have been under pressure. Beef's not as bad as what we're seeing for sheep and mutton, but I think it's fair to say that beef prices are very depressed as well. There's a lot of supply around, and I guess it's just a case of working through that supply and hoping that the United States and China comes back into the market as big buyers.
And then the dairy producers as well, how are they going?
Yeah, dairy producers have actually been tracking along okay. We've seen a little bit of a hit in confidence for the dairy guys in this report, and that's probably due to some of the GDT milk auctions that we've seen over the last couple of months. Global prices sort of edging lower and lower and lower, although the last auction was actually a little bit higher. So even though they've been getting good prices here domestically, selling into the domestic market, the global outlook's a little bit less rosy, and maybe they're starting to get concerned because of that.
And looking at the report, 10% of farmers expect the agricultural economy to improve over the next 12 months. So there is still a little bit of optimism out there.
Yeah, well, you've got to be an optimist in farming because it can wear you down. Yeah, that's exactly right. So it's good to see there's a bit of optimism out there, and I think there's a number of good growers who are well set up who will continue to make money. And you never know. You might see a little bit of a turnaround in prices where we're starting to see some commodities heading up again now. So hopefully that continues and things improve.
Mr Picton from Rabobank, thanks so much for coming on the show today.
My pleasure.